I was really glad to have some quality time with Anwar a couple of weeks ago, and I know how these evenings bring us all together, help us to realise how much we have in common, both in our concerns to cherish the world we share and to celebrate the richness that Islamic artists and musicians and poets and teachers bring to us all. I've always found the crown jewels of this evening has been the times that we have just for mixing together and for social interaction.
I think there should be more to bring people together, like especially in younger communities, because I don't know if there was or there wasn't stuff like this going on when I was younger, but I definitely didn't hear about it if there was, and I feel like it would have made me feel a lot more part of something, because it can be quite hard to be in England from a different culture. I felt quite connected with the people here, and that I felt quite grateful to have grown up in Milton Keynes and live here, because it feels like they do have an understanding of other faiths, and it's really accepting compared to a lot of places.
It's the most terrific honour to be standing here like this. Anwar will tell you that I will go a very long way for one of these dues. I came 2 years ago and this was a building site, and every time I've seen him since, I've pestered him, and I'm just so honoured and delighted to be able to bring you love and greetings from the Christian community in the whole county of Buckinghamshire, and of course the Ecumenical Partnership of Christian Churches in Milton Keynes. It's a spiritual event, and something I've thought of many times. My father-in-law is a lecturer in Arabic at Oxford, and therefore we've often had Muslim friends telling us about their experience of Ramadan, and the experience of fasting, which we've rather lost sight of within the Christian community, is a very precious gift.
It's a pretty amazing evening. I've been coming along to these dues now for all 9 years. To see how it's really grown, both in depth and in reach. I mean, the room is absolutely thronging with people, which is the way it should be. We're building the kind of city we want to live in. It's been a really joyful evening, actually. If you love Milton Keynes, it's been a great place to be.
I thought the event tonight was really amazing. The number of speakers that spoke about interfaith and love and going beyond tolerance, which I thought was the Sheikh's message was just incredible. And the fact that we had the Syrian refugees here dancing, singing, you know, the most amazing music. I've never experienced anything like that before. And of course the highlight of the night was the story of the refugee, what he had to go through to get to this country.
It is extraordinary to be here with you. This is one of my favourite gigs in Buckinghamshire in the year, and boy have I missed it. There is an ancient Christian vision of what heaven would be like, being with God himself. And it talks about people of all cultures and races and languages gathered together in unity. And this is one of the places in my year where it looks real. It looks as though this really could be the case, that we belong together as children of God with all the different names we have for him, all the different ways that we live. And we're not kind of homogenized into being the same. No, it's the fact we are who we are, and that is special, that makes it such a glorious evening. So thank you so much for coming. It's great to be with you. But of course, it's a very sad time for us as well. I come, as some in our city of Milton Keynes do, from refugee stock. My mother was a refugee from Hitler, and my growing up was overshadowed by family in Hungary, where my aunt had her house partially diminished by a tank that came up the road and shot away the bathroom 12 years before they had it back. So the last few months have been very, very difficult for me. We are taking in some Ukrainian friends. I know you are doing lots of extraordinary things. And for all the terrible things that are going on in this war, the way it's released a natural feeling of fellow feeling and wanting to be there for people and wanting to give and realizing that we are all together and that we just have to reach out with our hearts. When we don't know what to pray, we don't know what to say, but we can at least reach out with our hearts and hands and wallets and do our bit together to try and make things as not awful as they could be. It's made me think of how we need to value things we've often taken for granted, you know, our freedom, our ability to live broadly in peace, to be cared for and looked after in all kinds of ways. You know, we take the things that make our lives what they are for granted so easily. And to see friends in Ukraine who are having to fight for their freedom and for their identity and for their country is deeply, deeply moving in every way. And it's a challenge for all who are involved in leadership of any sort. I mean, how extraordinary to see the president from Ukraine. How extraordinary to live in a country where our Queen has served us for 70 years. What an extraordinary thought. There are very few people in the country who have not been served by her one way or the other over those years. And today in the Times newspaper, when I opened it up, one of the saddest headlines I've ever seen in a newspaper in this country. It's the mayor, a 50-year-old woman in a town 25 miles from Kyiv. The mayor refused to abandon her people, and then they found her in a shallow grave with her children. So for Pete's sake, the cost of the life we have is considerable. And because we live in peace and security and democracy and have the freedoms we have to be ourselves and to share our lives, there is so much for which to be grateful. And for religious leaders, it's about salam, shalom, it's about peace. It's what Martin Luther King said. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace is the presence of justice. And if we want to see that, we need to be different people. We need to be positive. We need to make a difference in the small things of our lives. And for all of us, there is the challenge to live lives that express the freedom and the joy of being together. And this evening is one of those events. I'm going to wrap up with a poem I started with a couple of years ago that's come home to me in a completely different way of late, just because of the war and all that is going on in Ukraine. It's a poem by Lucy Berry. Lucy has been the resident poet on the Jeremy Vine show. That's what she does. She's one of these people where you can just chuck her a subject and she'll write a poem about it. And she makes the point that peace is not something you see on the telly. Peace is not even something that other people are responsible for. Peace is something we carry in our hearts. And the more we can do that, the more we can enjoy who we are and the differences that mark us out, but which make us so interesting and different, the more we can learn to love one another. But the choice is ours. Here is Lucy's poem. You and I, inside us, have an empire and a village. Admit it and acknowledge. Now let's forage for our courage. Citizens of empire are the haywire folk of hellfire, of hiring, firing, miring, and of razor wire and gunfire. Citizens of empire never listen to the village. Empire will imprison any profit in the village. Empire has the cash, the whips, the slaves, and the advantage. Empire screams for tribute, which the village cannot manage. Empire drinks the river, and the village feels the shortage. Empire starts the carnage, and the village needs a bandage. People of the village must rummage through the rubbish, calling through the garbage for the children in the wreckage. Empire knows to massage every message to the village, to authorise as classified each image of the pillage. Empire feeds off doubt and debt and luxury and slaughter. Village dreams of crumbs of bread and never failing water. All of us inside us have an empire and a village. Admit it and acknowledge. Now go forage for your courage. Over to you.